Yes, guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. Welcome to the Sunday night. Welcome to the breakdown. It's a bit of a different one this week because we're obviously not having a game 24 hours ago. We had the game Friday, which we'll talk about a little bit. We'll talk about the Burnley game and we'll talk about the Young Bluebirds revolution. Is the time now? Guess we'll find out. Always a good time on a Sunday, discussing a range of topics. So, please do give it a share, all that good stuff. Make sure you tell your friends, all of the usual bits and pieces, like the video, etc., etc. Just checking everything's working, all seems to be good. There we go. Yeah, hopefully you can all hear me nice, loud and clear. I'm going to take this out because it's bugging me that I can hear myself. But there we go. Yeah, so what do we make of the Villa performance, first and foremost? Because by and large, I think I've seen, most people are pretty happy, thought it was a pretty good performance, did well to hang in there against some very good players. I did see one or two sort of negative comments about how we never looked like scoring and like that sort of thing. But to me, it was a kind of a mix. So obviously we were always going to be trying to hit them on the break, on the back foot, etc., because of the players that they have at their facility, even rotating, and the players that we have, and we had to rotate to try and get some players fit, to try and give people a rest, because we've got a huge game on Tuesday night against Burnley. So there was a bit of this and a bit of rotation. So there's kind of two reasons why maybe we didn't look super sharp going forward, shall we say, or create loads of chances. But also, I don't think we were ever going to cut through Villa, time after time. It's one of them, isn't it, where, look, do I think if we had started with a bit of pace in those sort of two positions behind the striker, it might have been a little bit different? Yeah, a little bit. I thought Ruben and Aaron Ramsey did a real good job of, they put a couple of good balls in the channels and behind and played through. And we just didn't have the pace to get there. Willock, whilst he's very good on the ball, doesn't lose it very often. He's not the quickest. And yeah, we'll talk. I'm going to do a video on Chris Willock a bit later in the week. I've got a couple of videos out this week, which are quite interesting, kind of conversation starters, if you like. Going to record a couple in the morning. Got one on Ruben. I did a video on Ruben Colwell a couple of months back called The Curious Case of Ruben Colwell. So I think I'm going to do a part 2 sort of follow on to that, because he is really interesting, and we'll talk about it a little bit more detail shortly. But I've got a video about Joe Bagan. I got a video about where Cardiff stand historically in terms of the championship and the current league table, which is quite an interesting conversation in itself. And then finally, I think Chris Willock is an interesting one, because I think the lad's got all the ability in the world. I think in recent appearances, he's shown a bit more defensive responsibility and a bit more fight, which is a good sign, because that means that his attitude's pretty good. I just wish sometimes he'd be a little bit more direct. So when we played last Tuesday against Hull, we had Willock off the right and Ashford played off the left. So they actually switched to what their normal positions were in the first half. Normally Ashford's on the right and Willock's off the left. And I thought that was quite a clever touch, especially the way we set up. We kind of set up like the away team to hit them on the break. And a couple of times Chris Willock had the ball in, like he had the fullback one-on-one and didn't just drive at him. Uses his skill set, use his abilities to beat a man and put a cross in. He either put the cross in too early, or he just went backwards. I'm sure there's a bit of a confidence thing. And I think, I do also think Errol Bullock drilled into them like non-stop about giving away possession. You saw it a lot with Ruben last year. Obviously, Chris Willock has only had a short period with Bullock. But there's definitely an element of that within the squad. Now, not to say that's Errol Bullock's fault, it's the way he likes to play football. It's kind of interesting, though, because there's no doubt in Chris Willock's ability. Like, he's a very, very good player. Is he got the consistency and the mentality to go game in, game out? Something which people throw at Ruben a lot, that he can't do it consistently. But, like, I would argue on Ruben Colwell's case, he doesn't have many bad games. He might have games where he's not as effective or he doesn't look quite as dangerous. But I never see him not trying or not putting the effort in or not doing his job positionally or whatever it may be. I just feel that as a team, we're slowly but surely trying to, like, I think Omar Rhys is almost like he's got a jigsaw, all the pieces are muddled up, and he's just trying to find these pieces and find the right pieces for the right time and the right games. And I find it really interesting that we saw Ruben play as an 8 on Friday from the start. We've seen him do it a little bit recently, late in games, 20 minutes here and there. And I find that fascinating because Craig Bellamy was at the South Wales derby. I'm sure him and Omar Rhys at least had some sort of conversation. And I know that Bellamy and some others within the Welsh setup think that Ruben's position long-term will be as an 8 or maybe even as a 6. He's got all the skill set for it, all the attributes to do it well. And maybe he'll grow into it. I had I replied to someone's comment on Twitter earlier. I think us as football fans sometimes forget that with young players, like 16 to say 24, 25, their progress and their improvements and the way they learn the game, like, it's not linear. It's not the same for everyone else. If it's the same, you'd see the same thing, right? You send them out on loan for a season, they come back, they go into the first team, etc. It just doesn't work like that. Every individual is different. And maybe in terms of those little tweaks that Ruben needs, I think sometimes when he's in the 10, he needs to release the ball a little bit quicker and maybe play off like 1 or 2 touches and move teams around. Maybe those little tweaks to his game that he needs to do, because I also think that he needs to let his shot off sometimes and not look for that extra pass. Maybe sometimes, or maybe he is, should I say, a player who's just going to get it a little bit later because he's got all the tools. So going back to what I was saying about Omar Rhys, right, is you've got, he's trying to find all these different, he's trying to find the right combinations, the right centre-back pairing. Looked like it was probably going to be Gutas and Darland. But then Bagan has come in and looked so assured at left centre-back. And having a left footer there opens up that whole side of the pitch the way we want to play and move the ball out to the wide players quickly. So that is like a question. Then you've got Will Fish, who didn't get much opportunity in the first half of the season. And as he's got a little bit more opportunities through rotation, through injuries, he's got gradually better. And I thought the last few games, he's been really, really good. He's like an old school defender in how he tries to defend, but very, very good on the ball. But again, he's a young player. Bagan, young player. And then you have Dylan Lawler come in, 18 years old, already captain of the 21s at 18, comes in against the likes of Rashford and Asensio and Morgan Rogers, like absolute top quality players who've played at the very highest level. And he just looked so unfazed, like he'd done it every day of the week for the last 10 years. Well, I know I've been talking about him for a while. I know he's good. I know he's rated. I know he's calm and collected. But to see him do it against players of that ilk without any sign of being remotely flustered, I'd be lying. I think I mentioned it on Friday. He reminded me, with that composure, he reminded me of when I watched a young Danny Gabardon, whereby he just looked like he was made for it. And no matter what level he went to, he would just take that quality into the level. He would just take it in his stride and he would continue to be top quality. So you've got like all these jigsaw pieces. Then you've got Callum O'Dowda probably being one of Cardiff's best players, this season. If it wasn't for his form, Joe Bagan's probably played started most games at left back. Joe Bagan has been very unfortunate not to play more games this season. So then now you've got young Louis Giles. Thought he did a real good job against a really good winger on the weekend. Kept him quiet. In the first half, I said the one thing I'd like to see him do a bit better with is blocking crosses. Second half, he comes out and he just started blocking the crosses as well. I thought he was very, very good. We didn't get to see the attacking aspect of his game, which will come in different games, I would imagine. You're never going to see him bombing up from left wing back when you're playing against Villa. We're always going to be playing on the break. But his delivery from crosses and his overlapping will be a big tool. So you've got all these different aspects. You've got Perry NG starting to look like the old Perry NG. He's getting there. Wears his heart on his sleeve, puts his body on the line, and he looks happy again. Now, long term, do we see him move into a centre-back position? Like we talked recently a lot about the contracts that are up in the end of the season. I think most people are in agreement that we probably, as fans, would offer Gutas another year with the option of a year to help with the young centre-backs. But we discussed this a little bit on Friday, but what we haven't taken into account is maybe he doesn't want to stay. Not because he doesn't want to stay at Cardiff necessarily, but maybe he wants to go back where he's a bit more settled or family. I don't know. And that's not me saying he does want to leave, by the way. I'm just saying maybe there is something in with that. If that is the case, and we need that sort of experienced defender to help the young lads, does Perry NG become that? And we sign a younger right back to compete with Rina Mota. I think Rina Mota predominantly now should be a right back, with if Perry is going to make that sort of transition towards more of a centre back, then you get someone in. You've obviously got Perry there. You've got K Pacquiao as well. We shouldn't forget, who's obviously injured. And I think I prefer Rina Mota at centre back. I think we've got better options as right back. Sorry, I think we've got better options in the central midfield areas compared to what Rina Mota offers in the central midfield area. Not to say that Rina Mota is not good enough to play in the central midfield areas. I just think we've got better options. You know, Mansverk, Ramsey, Rawls, Ruben, Alex Robertson. I feel like I've missed someone out there as well. But we have options, good options in the central midfield area. And then there might be times then where Rina Mota might need to slot in there, and that's good. Utility players are good, and it's one of them, isn't it? And I think Omar Rhys came in. We had 1 point, 1 goal. We looked like a team who didn't want to play together, didn't want to play for the badge, didn't want to play for the club, didn't want to play for the fans. We just looked like a broken team. And slowly but surely, he's brought that squad together. Started with the players as individuals, getting them on board, getting them behind, speaking to them. Man management should not be underrated, how much he's done with that squad. Turnbull, of course, as well in the central midfield areas. So, I think if you give Omar Rhys a bit of slack in that he doesn't know his best team. But I think that's partially because of the performance of certain players in a good and a bad way for individuals, and partially because he's trying to keep everyone fit and he's trying to find the right combinations for the right game. So, Villa, you're going to go 3 at the back and go with the wing backs and try and hit them on the break. I thought you got the system right. I thought you got the defensive right. I thought you got the personnel right everywhere. My only question was really, could we have done with a bit of pace in one of the positions? But Chris Willock, from about 15 minutes on, did a very good job of protecting Louis Giles and helping Louis Giles. So I will do, Antonio. Drop me an email or leave your email or a message or message me on social media, something like that, just so I know where I can find you, mate. But I will. I'll do it straight after the show. So it's really interesting to see all these young players, all these because you've got like 2 groups almost. You've got the group of first team young players. I suppose you include Lawler and Giles in those. You've got Fish, Darland, still quite young. Ruben, Alex Robertson, Ashford. It's almost never-ending list. But then you've also got these guys in the under-21s who, next season, are they going to be pushing? Which ones will be pushed? Which ones will be in the first team squad? Which ones will be looking for football on loan? You've got Matt Turner, who's been on the bench a lot this year. He's going to be on the bench for the rest of the season. As the keeper, you've got, obviously, Lawler, we mentioned. You've got Spires. You've got Louis Giles. You've got Tews. You've got Perrett. Manny Barton's been having a great season. Naika Hawa, I apologise if I pronounced his name wrong. Raheem Conte, Joel Colwell. Some of those players, not all, some of those players look like they might be ready to really push on and challenge for first team spots. Rocco Simic, 3 goals in 3 games for the 21s. Reindorf was doing well before he went out on loan. It's just trying to find the right combinations to a jigsaw for Omar Rhys. And I think ultimately, Omar Rhys should be commended for the job that he's done so far. I think it's been a very difficult job, but also it hasn't been perfect by any means. I think, the late goals have cost us in the league. We'd be probably safe if we hadn't made those defensive lapses. But he addressed that. Like, the last 3-4 games, I think it is, we've looked really solid defensively. Now, some will say, that's because Will Fisher's come in or Bagan's come in and we look more solid. Or maybe they've just been working on focus and mentality and positioning and not switching off. I actually messaged a friend of mine on Friday. Rashford got in behind Perry and G, and it didn't come to anything. And I said to my mate, I said, all right, let's hope that's the one. That's the one time where he switches off. Because he has been guilty of it this year, and I'm sure he'd be the first to admit it. There's been a couple of times he switched off and someone snuck in behind him or whatnot. Dan Ola is another young one. But I think Perry's been really good. And football's a squad game. Football's changed from when we were younger. It's not 11 men now. You need 16 that you can absolutely rely on and rotate in and out. And it doesn't matter who you're playing or who's in the positions. You can trust them to do the job. And I think he's getting there. As I said, he's not perfect. And I really like how flexible he is and adaptable he is with his system, depending on the game situation. He will learn more in terms of going too early defensive, trying to get that killer second goal. I think that's a big problem where we score a goal and then we ease off a little bit. But he's learning on the job as well. Now, in my opinion, I think he's doing about as good a job as he could be. If you take out those late goals, and I know you can't, but if you take out those late goals, we'd be safe-ish, and we'd be talking about what a remarkable job he's done. But he cannot physically control those players and make them not make a mistake. I do think we are like the pace of Tanner is missed, isn't it? And Alves was a big part of that sort of little mini revival that we had. Like, he looks really accomplished on the ball. Callum Chambers was the midfielder I missed out. Sorry. And I think it's one of them, innit, with, you need to get Alves back. I think Alves might be back Tuesday, if not Tuesday, Saturday. Same as Darland, actually. So we're going to get some bodies back. And I mean, in my opinion, I said this about Perry NG, and I think I said it about someone else. I forget who it was, but Darland has to earn his right now to get back in the side. Will Fisher sat on the sidelines all season waiting for his opportunity. His opportunity's come and he's taken it. Big and the same. Waited all season for his opportunity. When it came, he took it. So for me now, Darland has to earn the right to get back in that starting 11. And Burnley's a fascinating tactical conundrum. We're at home. Like, effectively, you win your home games. That's the kind of rule, isn't it? Burnley's a very good side. Up until the FA Cup game yesterday, they hadn't conceded a goal in God knows how long, 15 games, I think it was, something stupid. But they have conceded goals. They're not unbeaten. They are not unbeatable by any means. But you have to get the setup right. We played really, really well against Burnley in the away game for 15 minutes, and then Halverth lets the ball go over his foot, and they literally 4 shots, 4 goals. I think they had, or 3. I think they actually technically had 4 goals from 3 shots, because obviously the one that goes over Halverth's foot. But they're not unbeatable. I think the crowd can get behind them. I think if we can do what we are capable of doing and what we've shown in glimpses, I really do think Cardiff under Rhys since Christmas, we've shown in glimpses what he's trying to do, what he's trying to build, the way he's trying to play. And we're starting to see those rotations and the quick interchanging in the attacking areas. But you don't see it constantly because it's still a work in progress. He's been there not even a full season. So, of course, it's a work in progress. It's not his team. The 3 people who he's brought in the January window, I think so far, so good. Anyone else really has not been brought in by him. So it's not his team. And what he's doing is he's got the players behind him and he's shown a bit of tactical nous. I think that's a pretty good start. What would you guys do for the Burnley game? Would you go with the 3 at the back? And if so, who's your 3? Would you go with pace? Would you try and stay like compact and hit him on the break? Would you go all out and try and really get at him? Start fast, like I said. I feel like I've said in every home preview this season. Start fast, be aggressive, get in their face, and then, see how you can put them under pressure, see if you can get something, get that early goal, get the crowd behind you, put a tackle in, etc. It's kind of, that's why I said it's a bit of a tactical conundrum because you want to win your home games. But I do think that if you go at Burnley and you're reckless with it, they'll pick you off on the break. They've got players good enough that they will pick you off on the break, and then all of a sudden you're chasing the game, which is obviously not what you want against a team which, they're not flying as much as they were at the start of the season, by the way. They've dropped down to 3rd. They are by no means the machine that they were in that early part of the season where they were just churning out, 3-0, 4-0, 2-0 constantly. You just got to be clever with it. Thinking outside the box, this is a little bit. If we play 3 at the back, I would contemplate playing Kean Ashford at right wing back. Because I think he has the fitness, the commitment, and the pace to go up and down and get back in. I think his defensive sort of pressing and engagement is pretty good. Good enough that I think he could do a job. I also believe that Cardiff should look to target Connor Roberts. Connor Roberts defensively, I don't think is particularly great. And, some people will disagree, and that's fine. I just think with the Wales thing, the reason why he generally plays at right back for Wales is because we play Nico Williams on the left. Connor Roberts is a competent footballer, but I think there's defensively you can get at him. But they've got a good side, Burnley have. Hannibal's a good player. And I just think what Ashford, Alves, Tanner, these types of players do is when you do break, in that transition, if you've got players like Colwell, Robertson, Ramsey, Manswerk, Rawls, they're such good passers of the ball. When you're in the transition and you win the ball back and the other team is out of position, you need pace to get at teams. And that's why I really believe that that's a real good option. So Lewis has just made a really good point. Marcus Edwards, who plays for Burnley, is someone that we should definitely be keeping an eye on. If we play 5 at the back or 3 at the back, if we go with 3 centre backs, I would play Callum O'Dowda as the left wing back. If we go 4 at the back, I would play Joel Bagan as the left back because of Marcus Edwards. They've got an embarrassment of riches, whether it's Hannibal, whether it's Edwards. They got Cullen in midfield. Got a very, very good team, as you'd expect because of where they are. If we go with a 4, I would go Bagan on the left back. If Alves is fit, I would contemplate, depending on how fit he is, like if he's still maybe struggling a little bit or got a bit of pain, you go without O'Dowda off the left because he'll give that protection to Bagan and that help to Bagan, and then bring Alves on for half hour on the left. I would go with Ashford on the right because he does the defensive work and he just drives into space. And I think that's what players like O'Dowda, Ashford, Tanner, Alves, they all do is if there's space in front of them, they will drive into it. Ashford did it against Hull and he just drove up the ball. And what that does is, it's attacking, it's good and it's direct and all these things which get fans off their feet. But you know what else it does? It takes the pressure off the defence for 5 minutes just by getting that ball up the other end of the pitch. Hannibal's also Hannibal is also one who you can wind up a little bit. He is he's a good player. He's very, very clever, very technical. But he also has got a bit of a temper. And you see him quite often get frustrated when teams kind of are nibbling at his ankles and they're not late challenges, but like those, just those little nearly late tackles and little nibbles, little bumps off the ball. Don't give him any time because when he's got the ball, he's a real good player. But he is someone who I would put a man's work on, or someone who's quite physical, but it's such a fascinating game. I think Cardiff can get something from this Burnley game. Burnley pressed really well. So it's something we talked about, and Rhys has just said there, Burnley pressed very well, and as a unit, we seem to struggle when teams really press us. And I don't know if we could afford to sit off and let them have the ball like we did with Hull, because they have the quality. That's what Rhys says there. So, in my opinion, I think I said this to you on Friday, Rhys, but I'm not sure. With our playing out from the back, what I would like to see us do is be a little bit more direct with it, because I thought we did it very well against Villa, in fairness. I thought we were pretty good with it. But it does encourage pressure. So what I would like to see us do is when Burnley press the keeper in the back four off goal kicks and things like this, is go a little bit direct. If you've got a Ramsey or a Ruben or a Mansverk or the wingers, they're press resistant. So play it direct into the midfield area. They knock it back and you play through that way without having the nerve-wracking and high-risk playing in your own area. What I don't want to see us do is just lumping it up to Salic or Robinson, because it just misses them out and it's just hit and hope. And we're better than that. The players we've got are better than that. We're very, very capable of playing good football. And I will say I thought we played out from the back pretty well against Villa, but it is nerve-wracking, it is problematic, and it's high risk. One mistake, one slip, one heavy touch, and if you've got a good pressing unit like a Burnley, that will then cause you an issue. So that's what I would do. I would go 3 at the back against Burnley. Obviously, I'll do a proper preview tomorrow with a bit more sort of research and stuff. But off the top of my head, I think I'm going Bagan as your left-hand side centre-back. Gutas in the middle. And then Fish to the right. But we'll caveat that with I wouldn't be like horrified or against if we played Fish in the middle and NG on the right, because I am a big believer in playing form players. Gutas has had a few shaky moments of late. Always gives 100%. Puts his body on the line. But NG and Fish and Bagan are all in really good form. So I think that would make for a good 3. Right wing back, I'm going to be brave. Going to go Kean Ashford. Left wing back, O'Dowda. So they'll both do the defensive work, but they'll get us up the pitch and give us wide options further up. In the midfield area, look, I don't think Aaron Ramsey starts. I wouldn't even be surprised if he's not in the squad. They're very much managing his game time. So, Manswerk, first name in the midfield for me. Where'd you go? What'd you do? Do you go Manswerk, Ruben, Manswerk Robertson, Manswerk Rolls, Manswerk Chambers? Chambers got to be in there as well. So it's really interesting what side Omar Rhys will pick, because I think the back 5 bar probably there's a choice to be made in terms of Gutas. There's 4 of them who I think would all do a good job. But Darla might be back as well, so you could have 5 going into 3. I'm sure the manager will pick Rinamoto at right wing back. I would go with Ashford. But if he's going to go with Rinamoto, then I want to see the 2 behind the striker. One of them has got to be pace. So it's got to be Isaac Davis, or it's got to be Ashford or Alves. My cat's shouting at me. I think, I think Salic has got to start. But do you drop your top scorer? I know people will say like Robinson can play off the left. Robinson could play in the 10. I don't think he's as effective, not only as an individual, but as a team. I think he's much more effective playing off the last man. I think when he plays a bit deeper sometimes or on the wide areas, the game passes him by a little bit. So it is really like Cardiff have almost like an embarrassment of riches in the sort of attacking midfield areas. I will say this. I said this Friday, and I think I will kind of say it again. I think Will Fish and Ruben Colwell will be very, very unlucky not to retain their place in the side. If they're on the bench Tuesday, which I think there's every chance they will be, I think they have the right to be a little bit, quietly frustrated and ask a question. Is Tanner, as far as I know, although I'm sure someone in the chat said that someone said in the chat the other week that his boot is off, but the last I heard that was that he still had a boot on. So I don't think he's back for at least a couple of weeks, and that's being optimistic. Alves should be back soon this week, whether it's Tuesday or Saturday. That's a big one. Because I think if you can play, as long as you can play, you've got Alves, Ashford, Davis, and Tanner. They're your 4 pacey wingers. Right, there you go then. So if Lewis just saying, Rhys said Tanner's back in training. So that's a big one. Oh, happy birthday, Alex. Well done, mate. We'll look out for you on the big screen, bro. I think Isaac Davis might get a start on Tuesday. Just a feeling. Another person I want to discuss is El Ghazi, but let's just finish off on this sort of team for the Burnley game. And this is what I'm saying about we've got a lot of options, and Omar Rhys is trying to find the right partnerships, the right personnel for the right games. And it's like a jigsaw, and he's trying to move these pieces around, If Ruben, right, let's say, hypothetically, Ruben's starting because he's been that good on Friday. Where'd you play him? Do you play him in one of the 10s behind a striker? Or do you play him in the two alongside a Manswerk or a Chambers. It's super difficult because I'm on one hand saying I think Ruben deserves to start. On the other hand, I'm saying, well, Chambers and Manswerk probably got to come back in. Antonio says, what's my starting 11? So this is, like I said, this is off the top of my head. So this will probably change before I do the preview tomorrow. Top of my head, I think I would go Halworth, O'Dowd left wing back, Ashford right wing back, Bagan on the left, definitely of the three. I would go with Fish and NG, and I would give Gutas another rest. So they would be my three: Gutas, NG, Fish, and Bagan. In the midfield, there's a real difficult one. So one of my 10s behind the striker, I'd probably, because I agree, someone's just said Isaac Davis is probably not fit. I wouldn't be against giving him an hour, but if we assume he's not fit to start yet, Robinson is one behind Salic, and I'd probably go Ruben as the other one. I think for this particular game, a Manswerk and Chambers double pivot is probably the way to go. So you have Chambers, Manswerk, O'Dowd left, Ashford right, the three centre-backs, and then Ruben and, who did I say? Robinson behind Salic. But even then, see, I've contradicted myself because I've said I prefer Robinson as a striker. But I think Salic deserves a start, and I don't know if I want to drop my top scorer. So this is the dilemma that Rhys is facing week in, week out, but particularly for this game because, look, Burnley are very good pressing. They're very good going forward. They're obviously good defensively, having not conceded a goal for that amount of time. They've got a good keeper. But I do think Connor Roberts is get-atable, if that's the thing. So I would like to see O'Dowd as a wing-back, and then maybe like an Alves or Ashford or Davis or someone who maybe can isolate him one-on-one and get at him. So it is really difficult. I would love to hear what other people would do for this game, because I think this game is more difficult than perhaps other games. I do think also with the Ashford at right wing-back thing, it is a risk, of course, but I think he's got it in him. And second of all, I also think Rinamoto looks like mentally he could do with a break. So I could see, maybe they go with NG at right wing back and, Fish, Gutas and Bagan as the three. I could see that. It's then, like, you look at the bench we put out on Friday. Obviously, you've got the young lads, Naikahoa, and then you've got like predominantly Manswerk or Dowder, Isaac Davis, etc. Ian Ashford. So the two young lads like in Lola and Giles are probably going to be the ones to drop from the squad, I think. But I think you put Manswerk and Chambers as the double pivot, and I'm assuming Ramsey's not going to play. I think they do the dirty work, but they also look after the ball. One thing we have to do better is when we progress it through the midfield, we have to stop letting the play break down on the halfway line or the final. It's not even the final third, just inside the opponent's half. I see us so often, we do a lot of the hard work, play some nice stuff out from our own half or through the midfield, and then an El Ghazi or a Willock or someone, they'll take a heavy touch and it breaks down, and then you've got to start again. It might not always result in losing the ball. We might just end up going backwards. So it's tricky. I mean, maybe he goes for it. Maybe, like me and others, he's seen glimpses of it coming recently, and he sees like these little glimpses of us moving the ball quickly and the rotations, and he thinks, do you know what? It's a home game. We need to win as many games as possible. We need to win our home games. Let's go 4 at the back. Let's go Bagan, Fish, Gutas, NG as a back 4. Let's go Manswerk and Ruben as a 2. Robertson in the 10. Ashford on the right. O'Dowda on the left. Robinson up front. Salic up front. And he just says, right, let's go play football. Because to tell you something, right, because of where we are in the table, it's easy to think, oh, Burnley, let's set up with a 5. Let's, 2 defensive double pivots. It's easy to think, wow, we've got to hold on and just try and get a point. Look at the team. Look at the squad we've got in terms of technical ability, in terms of footballers who can play football. Aaron Ramsey, Ruben Colwell, Alex Robertson, Perry NG, O'Dowda, Rena Mota, Chris Willock. All technically excellent footballers. See what I mean? Like, is it just a confidence thing? That we need to get these players confident and believing and remembering that they're good at football. Because I look at it, and on paper, we got a lot of good footballers. And I'm like, why are we so bad? Is it as simple as we started so badly, we've been playing catch-up ever since? Is it that maybe there's a couple in there who are not quite up to it, who played a big part at the start of the season? Right, El Ghazi is someone I want to talk about. I see a lot of people criticising him and the rest of it. I do agree we haven't seen the best of him in a Cardiff shirt. He had 1 or 2 performances. I just think... And this again, none of these comments and stuff like that, none of it's personal. It's just a purely footballing-based opinion. But when I look at El Ghazi, and I know what he's capable of because I saw it for Aston Villa in the Championship, it was unbelievable. At his absolute peak, what a footballer. We haven't seen that at Cardiff. Why? I just wonder, is it as simple as... And I don't always like the A to B linear thinking. I think it's boring, and I think it's the easy kind of way to go about things. Quite often, things are not that simple. But is it a case of he's 29 years old, he didn't play for football for pretty much a whole season or a whole 12-month period? Is it as simple as he missed so much football, he just can't quite get up to speed? And of course, the risk is, by the end of the season, he's up to speed. We don't give him a contract because he hasn't really done it for Cardiff. And then he goes and signs somewhere else for free, and he's up to speed, and then he's unbelievable. And you're like, wow, why the hell did we let him go? Do you see what I mean? It's one of those. There's no doubt in his ability. Great footballer. You don't do the things he's done. Didn't have a pre-season. Hasn't played football for a year. Taken him a long time to get up to speed. He's never been a prolific scorer, but what he has been is a creator, and we just haven't really seen that in a Cardiff shirt this year. You don't play for Holland a couple of times if you're not half decent. It's really, he's interesting because I understand why they keep starting him. I understand why they keep persisting with him, because he's a good footballer, and at his best, he can do things that others can't. Do you see what I mean? So you can see why we keep chancing it with him and we keep starting with him. Fully expected him to start against Villa. A year out at that age, I think, is so difficult to come back at that level. Like, people think, or I don't know, maybe some of us who haven't played football, like, you don't realize the intensity, the athleticism, and the levels that these guys play at on a daily basis. Now, he missed a year, and he just hasn't been able to get up to speed since. So I do understand why they want to, they keep persisting with him to try and keep him going. For me, he doesn't start against Burnley, but he's a good option to have off the bench. And I'll say it again, Burnley are not unbeatable. We need to defend as we have recently and not switch off. I just think it's a tricky one, getting the balance right. If we go with 3, the main thing I want to see is you need someone in the midfield too. Like a Ramsey or a Ruben who couldn't find the balls. And then you need pace either side of whoever it may be, Robinson or Salic. And I'm really stuck with that because I think Robinson in the last couple of games, outside of goals, has looked like the game's passed him by a little bit. But if there's a player who's got the ball around the edge of the box, in the box, and it falls to any player, I kind of want it to fall to him. I think Salic will be the guy next year. Like, I think Salic looks like a genuine goal scorer, a poacher. If Cardiff keep a clean sheet, I think we'll win. Which I know, again, basic thinking, isn't it? Not very exciting thinking. But I do think if we keep a clean sheet, we'll win. And I kind of think if we keep our concentration, we will keep a clean sheet. Because I look at the defenders, and there's a few of them in form. Bagan's in real, real good form. Fish, real, real good form. NG, been really good for the last couple of games. They would probably be my 3. I begrudgingly drop Gutas. But you tell me what you would do. Because I'd like... I wouldn't learn English from me, my friend. We'll have you speaking like a Cardiffian soon enough. Let's go to some of the comments and just see. I'm going to fly through a couple, just going through. Rhys says, the biggest compliment I can give Rhys is he's improved players individually. Yeah, 100%. Martin says, Dylan Lawler appeared to have massive self-confidence on Friday. He just reminded me of Gabadon. I think probably just because of the composure and the confidence, but it was an exceptional performance. I thought Ramsey and Ruben made a real good partnership, mate. It's fascinating, isn't it? Richard Newells makes a really interesting comment there. He said, Dylan Lawler, 18, was sometimes up against a guy who's won 3 European Cups. Massive credit to him and his fellow youngsters. Yeah, I think people forget that. Some of those players for Villa, like, they played at the very top level. Turnbull will be back from his injury soon. Yeah, like, where does he fit in? It's crazy. We got Martin says we've got Eli King and Joel to return. I think Eli King will go in the summer, to be honest with you. It's tricky, isn't it? He's done well in a physical team. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Without seeing the games, you can't really hypothesize or you can't analyze how they've played. Like Joel Colwell, I watched quite a few of his Cheltenham games and he was just the best player on the park. He's gone to Exeter and he's only coming on 15, 20 minutes. Now it's a higher level, but that doesn't mean he's not still doing good. I just haven't seen the game, so I can't say for definite. Lewis says we're missing Alves and Tanner. We need them back as soon as possible. We do. Like, we just need that pace. But we do have pacey, like we've got Ashford and we've got O'Dowda and people who can play in those positions. They've just got to be played in those positions. So Paul says, I personally think a left and a right back should be looked at in the summer, as well as the keeper situation. Maybe Pacquiao and Conte can step up, but again, maybe a loan as Conte struggled on loan. It's a strange one, isn't it? Because some players can, you lose a bit of control when they go on loan, but then equally, sometimes a player plays first team through a necessity, injury, or whatever, and they just take to it like a duck to water. And what we saw of Conte in the first team last year at the end of the season, he just looked suited to it. And I expected him to be part of the first team squad this year. That was how impressive I thought he was. I don't think we need a left back. We got Bagan, we got O'Dowda, and we've got Giles. A right back I could see, particularly seeing how the Gutas, NG kind of Rinamoto thing works out. If they give Rinamoto and Gutas new contracts, then maybe you don't need a right back. If one of them goes, then I think you definitely need a right back. So left-hand side, I think, is fine. Right-hand side, possibly. Pacquiao, though, is top quality. Like, if he can stay fit, he'll be our right back before long, I would imagine. Jonathan says Richard Shaw coming in and then similar time Chambers was moved to CDM. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Chambers into CDM was like this, like, super out the box thinking, but I do think Rhys deserves credit for not just being an idea and then it's sort of thrown to one side and we could do that, but I will do this. And like, it did take a bit of bravery to move the centre back into centre midfield and play him above Siopis. That deserves a bit of commendment. Eli King, maybe the plan was to get him used to the physicality side of it. He's a big boy and he's a good footballer. Martin says impressed with Fish. Jonathan says Burnley played their reserves against Preston. It'll be a different game for us. Yeah, of course it will. But I just don't think they're unbeatable. Not to say that they won't go and outplay us and beat us. They might. I'm just saying that I think we've got so used to being down the bottom that we're forgetting that we've got some good players. Rhys said that's where the leadership comes in. Concede one and they crumbled. They need to step up now. It's business time in the season. Some of them need to impress for a contract elsewhere. Martin says, run at Connor Roberts. Yeah. Martin says, 4 at the back, pace out wide, Ashford and Alves if fit. Yeah, I don't mind that at all, mate. Jonathan also says, would like to see Salic start more. He looks more like a number 9. Future number 9, kids looks quality, very physical, good runs, the kind of striker we've searched for a long time. Yeah, big time, mate. He just looks like a proper goal poacher as well. I think it was Rhys who said, I put a clip out of it, I should know. I think it was Rhys said he thinks he could get 20 goals next year. He does look like that kind. I did say Friday, I just hope he doesn't get sidetracked by the physical battles and because his link-up play is really good and he makes really intelligent runs in and around the box. Paul says, we've got some real good young talent. It's time to take the shackles off them and let them loose. Salic will score against Burnley, and I think Ruben's coming into some form. Yeah, could do with Tanner being fit for Connor Roberts. Yeah, I hope when Tanner comes back that he plays off the left as an out-and-out winger and not as a inverted wingers. I think we need to move away from them, and we seem to have done that a little bit now, moving away. Paul says Mansverk versus Hannibal would be great. Yeah. And then Jonathan says need NG and Mansverk to tag team Hannibal in the housery because Hannibal has a stinking attitude and no composure. Yeah, he's a good footballer, but he is a red card waiting to happen. Martin says, hope Ramsey starts. So much composure. We've got to protect him, mate. I think Alex Robertson is still finding his way back to fitness. I think Mansverk and Chambers will play. And Chambers will come off after like about an hour. And then you might bring Ramsey on if Rawls is not fit. Or you might bring in Ruben. Or I don't know. It's an interesting one. I don't know if Rawls will be fit. could bring him in. But Burnley is difficult. Ethan says, I'd like to set up the same as Villa. Interesting. And then he poses the question, Salic or Robinson? So if we set up the same as Villa, the one change I would make is two changes I would make. I would put Salic up front. Oh, he did play up front. Robinson, and then I would take out El Ghazi for either Isaac Davis or Ashford. And Isaac Davis, I think, could give you a half, give you an hour. Be nice, wouldn't it? Like, got to get him up to fitness. Got all these players coming back. Some of them are going to be very disappointed when they not in the squad because there's too many players. So, all right, I would assume that he'll drop, Giles and Lawler out of the squad. There's still too many. So, someone is not going to be happy that they're not in the squad. Difficult, isn't it? I understand giving Isaac half hour off the bench rather than starting him. But at some point, he'll have to, start a game and give us an hour. So Alex says, I was talking to Alves by the bench, and he said he wants to stay at Cardiff. He didn't play because his knees were hurting. Yeah, he got knocked, didn't he? It was a bit of a nasty one. But if that's true, mate, that's a good sign. I said this about Mansvik and Alves. Let's hope they just get the bug for Cardiff, like so many others have before, and they just love it down here because I'd love to have both of them back next year. Really would. I think Mansvik's quality. Gavin says, sorry, he won't play 5 at the back. I just can't see it. I'd actually be more shocked if he plays 4 at the back, mate. Just because Burnley is a very good team. And generally speaking, when we play against teams who are like either, up the top of the league or very good in attacking options, he tends to revert to that sort of 3-4-2-1. But I'm interested. Just under 500 people watching live. Please do make sure you subscribe and like the videos and share the videos. If you're watching on Twitter, give it a little retweet. Make sure you drop a like on it. It helps us out massively with all the algorithms on Twitter or YouTube and stuff like that. And of course, if you want to be a member, you can join at Patreon under the Ace Podcast Nation name, or you can join through the Cardiff City World YouTube. We'll have a member show tomorrow. We also had the retro watch-alongs. We had one with Paul Abandonado. We had one with Andy Campbell. We'll have one with someone else soon. Special guests, rewatching games, talking about what was going on at the time and all that stuff. They've been really fun, actually, a real good time. And of course, if you're a member, you get early access to the tickets for the live events. Our next live event is in April, and it is with Glenn Loovens. Cannot wait to have the big man back, welcome him back to Cardiff. It's going to be a great night, and hopefully we'll see you all there. Put some names to faces, have some photos, say hello. You can ask Glenn questions. It's a good night. Good night. And it's well worth, like 10 quid is a bargain, if I do say so myself. Like 10 quid general tickets. You get the part 1 where it's myself and the guest talking. We have a little break. And then the second sort of part, we open the questions up to the audience. And you can ask the guests whatever. Microphone goes round with the team. And yeah, it's a good time. And I encourage you all to come down and say hello. Get your tickets. All the details are in the stuff below or on my socials. Or just email Cardiff City World and get your tickets sorted. 10 quid bargain, and drinks are cheap in there. It's a proper good night, but cannot wait. We've done Darren Pearce, we've done Michael Chopra, we've done Craig Bellamy, Andy Campbell, Willie Boland. Feel like I'm forgetting one. Joe Ledley, which is out soon, actually, the video of it. Oh, such a good night that was. He was singing and dancing and all sorts. Guta's suspended anyway, so there you go. Phil says, after that first half versus Villa, I think we're due a good win versus a very good side. Therefore, City 2, Burnley 0. Keep the faith. Get in, my friend. That, I think, is a perfect way to end tonight's show. Please, after the show finishes, in the comments, drop your prediction, drop your starting lineup for Tuesday. We'll have a proper good preview tomorrow night. Cardiff City phone in tomorrow night. Member show tomorrow night. So there'll be shed loads of content tomorrow. And then later in the week, we'll have the video on Bagan, we'll have the video on Ruben, and we'll have the video on the other person who I can't remember. I said I was going to make a video on. I did make a note of it, though. Who was it? Ruben, Bagan, Willock. Yeah, so looking forward to that. Lots and lots to discuss. Please make sure you've liked the video and all that stuff and share it and all that good stuff. Cardiff City content, 7 days a week, multiple times a day. You have a live show pretty much every day and some videos and analysis in between. Don't forget, Wednesday night is Cardiff City World on Cymru Sport Radio, which is also live streamed on the channel. We've had an array of guests. Last week, we had Rhys Weston. The week before that, we had Cardiff City first team coach Darren Pearce, Mark Hudson, Glenn Loovens. The list is endless. My contact book is endless. Who will we get this week? I can tell you one thing. In the Welsh Football Hour, which is the second hour, we have filmmaker, TV presenter, actor, all-round legend and Merthyr Tydfil fan, Johnny Owen is joining us. Cannot wait. He's a top man, among other people. So we have, as always, every Wednesday, we have an array of guests. Not just one guest, we have an array. Array, what a great word. We have an array of top guests every week. Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I thank you all for joining me this evening. Let me know your opinion. Let me know your starting lineup and predictions in the comments on the YouTube video afterwards. Spread the word. Keep the faith. The Blues are staying up.